Greetings, my Path of Exile fans. Now, we are going to get into the build guide for my Explosive Arrow Elementalist. I've been playing non-stop, and as you guys can probably see from all the videos, that I'm really enjoying this character. Forget the name right here. I was originally going to make it a Fireball character, but when I found Explosive Arrow, I found it to be a hell of a lot better. Now, we are going to dive right into early game leveling gear. Yeah, this is right. I am kind of min-maxed right now on my gear. We're missing maybe +1 arrow, quiver, and bow, but for the most part, I want to talk about early game gear because it's not going to be in the path of building. So, Tabula is a give me for if you want a 6 link right off the back. Any 4, 3, 4, or 5 link, or even a 6 link chest will work for this setup because you are going to be running Explosive Arrow. You're going to be running Deadly Ailments, Ballista Totem support, Ignite Prolift, or Elemental Prolift. These 3 skills right here, Explosive Arrow, Prolift, and Ballista, are going to be your first 3 choices when you first start this character. Then you got Burning Damage or Awaken Burning Damage. This wasn't that expensive. I think I paid like 2 exalts for it. And then elemental damage with attack support when you get the 6th slot. This could be the last slot, or you could do deadly ailments. I'm going for ignite damage, so that's where your damage is going to come from. In terms of gearing now, for early leveling, you can use a Quill Rain, you can use a Storm Cloud, or I actually found this bow as I was leveling and I just put its accuracy on it. Yes, it does mess with the equilibrium skill, which we'll get into, but for initially it worked very well for early map clearing. Quivers. Hydra's Bite Shark Tooth Arrow Quiver. It's a level 14 item. I found this took me through most of early game and into maps. I did end up finding this. It is a level 49 quiver with attack speed, lightning damage to attacks, which was phenomenal because this would trigger our elemental. Where is it? It's Overlord. We have it somewhere. Do I have it? Right here. They moved it. Alright, hits that deal elemental damage, remove exposure to those elements, and inflict exposure to other elements, and it applies a negative 25 to resistance. So, what you want is a bow, basically, with no damage on it to any elements, and then you want to gear your stuff up to do lightning damage, because this will also produce a big shock, which we will get into later. Amulets are very straightforward. I use the Eggman Gold Amulet, which I found while I was just leveling. And then I eventually found this amulet, which gave me strength and dexterity, adds lightning damage to attack, gave me some armor, and just mana regen and rarity. For a belt, I just went straight forward with the chain belt, the batted bearer chain belt for early game leveling. Good energy shield regen, gave me some int, it gave me some damage, and that was pretty much it. Helmets, you have 2 choices. I played with shrines once we get into maps initially, so I used the Raven Max Gall, which made it incredibly overpowered. Like, this carried me through T16s very easily while I was leveling, and then you take the Atlas passives for shrines, and your mini headhunter, literally, on you. You had like 1 to 2 minute buffs for big shrines. You had like 35 to 45 seconds for your smaller shrines. And you proc them non-stop. For leveling, I used the Viscor Salad. Accuracy, armor and evasion, gave me some rarity, and gave me some lightning. The other option you can use, I do not have one because I think it's on one of my characters, is basically the, I think it's the unique helmet that gives you all resistance. Really straightforward. I mean, it's like all in all, you can level this entire character on 20 chaos worth of gear, minus the tabula cost. I found this, so I do not include the tabula cost in the initial leveling gear. Rings were straightforward. Lee Hoop ring, I corrupted this myself, so this gave me the elemental equilibrium until I got enough lightning damage on my gear. So this kind of added a little cold damage to my attacks. You can use a sapphire ring for insane burning damage. This would really help push your ignites and your ignite prolifs. And then you can use a ruby ring, which is basically just some resistance and fire damage. I used an Ironheart black ring at the very beginning to start leveling. I found this. And you can move into a flammability curse on hit ring. I bought this ring literally for 5 chaos. Yes, I got a really good deal on it. The guy didn't want it, so I bought it for 5 chaos. I don't know what they're going for at the start of the league, but I got this a little later on. It does have chaos res, it's got strength, it's got dex, it's got flammability hit, and it's got fire damage versus ignite. This is probably, let's do a quick little price check on this right now. Yeah, just the chaos res, the life, and the curse on enemies is about 1 exalt now, so it did go up in price because this is a very popular build. But for the most part, this is early game gearing. It's very simple. For jewels, you just want increased damage over time, multiplier, and life, and attack speed. I got fire damage, life, projectile speed, and mana cost. I harvest crafted both of these. So they're very easy to make if you spam fire or life mods. So very, very easy to make. In terms of end gear, we will get into that when we get into the path of building in the next part of this video. But I will just kind of give you a hover over real fast of the items. This was about a 5 to 7 exalt bow. The helmet, penetrate fire, flammability curse effect. Could probably change the curse effect, but for the most part, this is just a straightforward spell suppression helmet I needed. Wait a second. This is not spell suppression. This was my spell suppression big one. This is just a general resistance helmet with evasion, and that's pretty straightforward with explosive arrow damage. And then I got double Eldritch and searing mods. Quiver, on the other hand, is where you're going to spend some money. Critical chance is kind of nice, but not needed for me. Fire damage over time multi is much needed. I needed the fire res. We got damage with bow skill, and we handcrafted elemental damage. Ring is just straightforward, just a death rush emissary. You could also use this as leveling. This is pretty cheap ring. It's pretty common drop. Gives you chaos res and gives you onslaught for kills. This is my big flammability ring I picked up. It's got elemental damage, flammability on hit. It's got some lightning, much needed lightning res. I got rarity on it just because it was the mod already on it. And then chaos res. Gloves inflict fire exposure on hit, applying -11 to fire resistance, and then +7 fire damage over time multiplier. These were the big ones for me. I got lightning damage to attacks, attack speed, much needed accuracy, some lightning res, and then we handcrafted life. The belt is straightforward, just a Dorian Dawn's heavy belt. Just ignites you, inflict with attacks, deal damage 35% faster. Phenomenal belt. And then the boots are just going to be the Azure Step Sling boots. I'm probably going to change these out once I can get spell suppression rare boots, and I can get something better like spell suppression helmet. And we'll do a little bit min-maxing later on those two. Flasks are straightforward. Immunity to bleeding for the life flask. We got a Jade Flask for evasion bonuses. We have a Quartz Flask with armor bonuses and spell suppression and phasing. Not really needed to min-max your phasing, but I got it, or your suppression, but I got it for phasing. It helps when you're able to run through mobs. We got the Quicksilver with the immunity to freeze. And then we have the Granite Flask for armor and reduced curse effects. And I hope you guys found this part of the video enjoyable, and stick around. The next chapter of the video will be the path of building. Alright everybody, welcome to the second part of this video now, which is going to be the path of building guide to the explosive Arrow Elementalist. Now, first thing I want to do is go over the Ascendancies. Yes, we're an Elementalist. Yes, I am currently level 98, but this is not mandatory. This build will cap out at 95 levels, so you will get a little wiggle room in what you can and cannot do with the skill points up until 95. After 95, it's totally up to you on how you want to do the skill points. But I do have a couple suggestions which we will get into a little later on. But first off, for Ascendancies, you want to do Shaper of Flame as your first set of Ascendancies. Second set of Ascendancies, based on your damage, you can either go for Shaper of Storms for shocks, or you can go Bastion on Elements for an Aegis Shield. If your defenses are not up there, your reses are not capped, or you're still low on life, I would highly suggest you do Bastion of Elements first. This is a very good defensive measure early game and even early mapping. Until you get good geared, get good levels, get good skill level ups, and get what's the last one, get your auras up and running. This will help you even up to T16 maps and bosses. So up to you if you want to use this. And then third set of Ascendancy points, whether you get this one, it definitely needs to be Shaper of Storm. Shock damage is insane for this build. When you start shocking stuff and then you hit hard with your explosive arrows, things go boom, literally. So and then once you're comfortable with your defenses and your level ups, you can take out this, or you can do your Uber Lab and get elemental damage and attack speed, and then you can also get Masterminds of Discord for your fourth. You can run Masterminds of Discord, Shaper of Flames, and Shaper of Storms along with Bastion of Elements very well. It is a very good synergy, but if you really want to up your damage in your DPS, you're going to get elemental damage and you're going to get Heart of Destruction. This is a huge buff when it pops up. So Heart of Destruction will replace your Bastion of Elements. Alright, now that we got the Ascendancies out of the way, let's start looking at the skill tree. This is end game skill tree. You will respec into this at some point, but for leveling, Fireball will be your leveling skill. It goes off of ignite damage, it goes off of fire damage, it goes off of dot damage. So you can very easily level this tree as is with a Fireball setup very early on. The only difference for Fireball setup early on is instead of taking these int nodes right here, you're going to come up this tree right here and you're going to get spell damage, Arcanist Dominance. You're going to take these life nodes and mana nodes, and you're going to take these avoid interruption nodes right here. If you really want to get some extra deeps right at the beginning, you're going to take elemental damage and you're going to take Firewalker. This will also give you fire resistance. Then you're going to come down this tree as is. You're going to hang a left. You can either take these quick recovery nodes down here. This will help you while you're leveling because you're going to be mana starved. You're going to be a little bit life capped. So these do help you. You're going to trek up this tree, go into Acrimity, which is damage over time multiplier. This benefits Fireball. You do not need to take increased damage over time mastery yet. This is a later on skill. It does increase the duration of elements and skill effect duration. This is more for explosive arrow. You can bypass Elemental Overlord right now if you want to, or if you strictly want to go for a Fireball, like big ignite damage setup, get Elemental Overlord. Then you do not have to worry about crits for the most part because your crits are not going to scale your damage, but it will give you a 40% flat damage boost. Now, moving up the tree, you're going to take this Intelligence node. You're going to come into Holy Fire. Take these three nodes right here. You're going to get Fire Damage Multiplier, Multiplier, and Big Multiplier, and Fire Res. So these, basically this node and your Fire Walker is going to be some insane fire damage, and it's going to give you a good chunk of fire resistance early game. Now, this is up to you. This Fire Mastery node you can select on your own. I am in-game spec for fire exposures, inflict an extra -5 res, but if you are having trouble with like leech and everything, I would highly suggest you recover 2% life when you ignite a non-ignited enemy. This will help sustain you early game, and then you can always switch over to fire exposure as you basically move on. I have tried fire overtime multiplier, but I don't think the nerf to fire resistance is worth the 20% damage multiplier early game. So you can stick with just recovered life when you ignite an enemy. Now, this is up to you. Depending on how comfortable you're feeling, you can use Fireball, Elemental Prolift, you can use lesser or greater multiple projectiles, and then here's the kicker. Fork and chain for your fourth link. If you put chain in, your fireball will basically get you to endgame maps. Like you can level strictly as fireball, and chain will benefit you so much. If you want to go into explosive arrows, right off the back, you're going to get Ancestral Bond right after you get these 2 life nodes right here. Now, this life node is up to you. You can get the mastery. I am supposed to have this mastery, but I spec'd them a little bit more farther down the tree. Like I'm in this one and then I'm in this one over here. So, but this one I would highly recommend plus 50 to life if you are very short on life right now. 10% increased maximum life is nice, but that scales more towards end game when you get more life on the tree and more life on your gear. So I would highly recommend you get plus 50 to life. Spend the 1 point. Now, you're not going to be running many auras at the start. You're probably only going to be running Clarity, maybe a Grace, and maybe a low-level Pride or something. You don't need your banner just yet. And you could use your armor bonus aura too, but you know what? You're going to have mana issues right off the back. So I would probably bypass this section just for now while you're leveling, and then you can come back and visit this as a little later on. You do not need Chaos Res or the Curse effects on you just yet either. This is later in the game, so you can come back to this node. You're going to come down the tree now. You're going to pick up Dreamer. This will increase your mana regen, and reduce the cost of your skills. This helps you a ton as you level. Now, if you are still rocking Fireball, this is where things are going to get a little tricky for you. You can take this Elemental Mastery node right here, but if you are not running Shaper or the Shaper of Storms just yet, you do not need to take this 40% increase of effects of non-damaging elements. This is for once you get Shock up and running. This buffs you a ton. The same thing for this one. This does help you with elemental damage. It will scale with Fireball. It really scales more with elemental or explosive arrow as you start leveling up. Huge bump. You're going to come down the tree into Shaper, mana regen, and life regen. For some reason, I don't know why Iron Will was selected. I'm going to have to look at that to see if that's actually in my tree. Because if I have that in my tree, something might be fully wrong. Alright, we'll check that out later. Alright, you're going to take these life nodes here. You do not need this life mastery node right here. I mean, you can take it if you want to for the 10% life until you get further down into the tree. But that is up to you. But you're going to respect out of this eventually. Now, if you were already rocking totems with explosive arrow, you're going to take this totem mastery node right here. All 3, and then you're going to get 5% damage from hits is taken from the nearest totem life before you. Huge defensive measure. This will play a lot once we get more further into the tree where your totems start taunting. So, we are going to get Sentinel. You're going to take this. This is where your defensive measures really start kicking in. Mage Bane will basically turn your dex, instead of giving you evasion rating, it will give you spell suppression or chance to suppress spell damage per 15 dex. Very big buff. You're going to come up into reflexes. This is more spell suppression and evasion. And then you are going to take evasion mastery if you are starting to run grace. This is later on when you start running multiple auras. You're going to need this. You will need this node. You will need this node. And then you're going to need Defiance Banner node to run all your auras together. If you are missing any one of those nodes, you will not be able to run the endgame auras. We'll get a little bit more into that as we progress. Coming down the tree, you're going to take these dex nodes. If you have a good jewel already, if this is kind of a secondary character or a third character and you've been crafting jewels already, or you have a little extra currency, jewels you are looking for: life, percent life, higher the better. I have lightning res because I needed it to help cap me with something. Ignite duration on enemies, or ignite is so-so. You are going to be scaling attack speed primarily on your jewels. You want increased attack speed with bows, flat attack speed, which is like 3 or 4%, and life. And then if you can get fire dot multi or damage over time multiplier, those are the main stats you really want to be looking for. And the next jewel, if you start running explosive arrow early on, you are going to want a Rain of Splinters Crimson jewel. This is big, 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 big. And it gives your totems 2 additional projectiles. So basically, instead of 1 arrow being fired, you're going to now start firing 3 arrows per totem. Very, very good buff until you get endgame gear with +1 arrows on your quiver and your bow, and then you can swamp this out. Corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. It is not mandatory. Huge quality of life improvement. I found that if once your totems endgame start opening up and you get over 2% attack speed, or 2 attacks per second times 6 totems, corrupted blood will kill you before you get a chance to get your flask off, especially if it's an instant heal flask without an auto trigger effect on it, or if it's out of charges. Corrupted blood will kill you. This is a major quality of life improvement. You can get something on the Pantheon tree, which basically gives you, where is it? Right here. If you go the Soul Rush scale, corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you if you have at least 5 corrupted blood defects or debuffs on you. So basically you're going to get 5 corrupted bloods, and then it's not going to be able to be inflicted on you. So that's a quality of life improvement from the Pantheon tree. I am currently running the Flask regen one, so it's going to be here we go. Basically, life flask gain 3 charges every 3 seconds, and then 60% increased life recovery. Now, the other Pantheon, since we're already up here, is going to be the Soul of Loomis. This is big. You want to get every single one of these. Reduced physical damage for each nearby enemy up to 8%. Huge defensive buff. Movement speed per enemy near you. 10% chance to avoid projectiles completely. Huge defensive improvement. Herald of Thunder is not really mandatory for this one, but avoid projectiles that have chain. The Sagaran Siren is mandatory. When you start putting totems down, projectiles that can chain will bounce off your totems and nail you hard. So this is very, very mandatory to have. You want to have that so your totems are not acting as a chain buffer for enemies that start firing multiple projectiles at you. Very, very good quality of life. Now, back to the tree. You have 2 choices. I would highly recommend, as you're leveling, coming down here, getting Arts of the Gladiator for attack speed, movement penalties removed from armor, global accuracy if you are running your totems already with explosive arrow. You get some life and evasion here. Next, we are going to come up into Avatar of the Hunt. This is only if you are running explosive totems already. This is a bow skill only. This will not help your fireball if you're still running fireball. So keep that in mind. You want to get all these notes here. You do not need bow mastery. Now, if you have a bow with elemental damage on it, whether it's fire, technically, yeah, you want a bow with flat fizz only. You do not want elemental damage. If you want to get gear with attacks, have a chance to do lightning damage only. This will help give you shock damage bonus, and this will also proc your elemental equilibrium, which basically gives enemies of the opposite resistance a negative 25% to their resistance. Very big damage boost. But if you do not have any gear that gives you like lightning damage or cold damage to attacks, I would highly recommend bypassing this node for right now. And I would strongly recommend you go for gear with lightning damage to attacks. You don't want cold damage because you are running Shaper of Storm. You want hits. You want lightning damage, so you shock at least, and the lightning damage will give you a bigger shock. So then we're going to come up into this tree. You want to go right first. You don't want to go down into this section yet. You want to get into these nodes right here. You're going to get Finesse, which is attack speed, accuracy, very big buff for Explosive Arrow. You're going to get some life and avoid to be stunned. You are going to take elemental damage here with some resistances. By now you should be well into Act probably 7 or 8 by the time you get down to this section. You are going to be getting your movement speed and spell suppression chances right up here. You're going to take Intuition coming down into this life node right here, followed by more totem damage right here. This is big. So you're going to get totem damage and placement speed, damage and placement speed, and attack speed and placement, and totem damage and attack skills have +1 to maximum number of summoned ballista totems. Very good. And it gives you bonus movement speed per totem. So basically 6 totems down, you're going to get 6% bonus movement speed. Very, very nice quality of life and damage boost. To finally continue down the tree, you can, if you choose to bypass going up here for a couple of nodes with your totem setup, you can pick up Deadly Draw. It is only 4 skill points. It will give you a huge amount of damage over time bonuses and increase your explosive arrow damage, ignite significantly early game. Up to you if you want to sacrifice going for life nodes first or going for more damage nodes on how you're situated. Next, we will be coming down this way. Follow the tree, follow the yellow brick road, and you will be getting strength. Life, and then this is either where you will be plus 50 to max life, or if you really want to, you can get plus 10 maximum life and 10 reduced life recovery rate. I am not liking the reduced life recovery rate, so I may spec out of this, but right now I need the life, and I am a lot higher level and not leveling, so up to you guys. Now, next big thing, you can either go all res and evasion and armor rating bonuses right here, or you can finally spec into the last of your totem nodes, which are going to be right here. And then that's the one that I was missing. Alright. And then you're going to come down into totem damage, and this is the big totem mastery node. Totems taunt enemies around them for 1 second when summoned. Basically, your totems act as a meat shield. Very, very good defensive measures. This jewel socket will be the very last of your skill points. You're going to probably use level 94 here and level 95 here. And as you can see, we are running an 8% to fire damage over time multiplier, attack increased damage with bows, and attack speed with bows. Not ideal. I would rather have a life roll on that too, but the better tier jewels you get, the more expensive they get. These jewels were I metacrafted this one myself. This one I bought, but I corrupted it myself. So this was a gamble. This one I crafted with Harvest. Very lucky rolls. And then this one I bought as is with the corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. So jewels will get a little bit expensive for the stats you're looking for, but early game if you just go attack speed with bows and life, you're very cheap, like a couple chaos if you're lucky. So not too bad. Next we are going to look at the bandits. You're going to take 2 passives. I should have said that at the very beginning of this, but it does help you. As we've gotten already into the Pantheons, Explosive Arrow with 20 fuses with current gear setup. The way I am right now, I have my Amulet anointed for Burning Brutality for attack speed and dot multi, but I think I'm going to be switching it to either fire damage up here and penetration, or we are going to go Breath of Flames for damage over time and fire damage. I think Breath of Flames might be better, so we'll see how that works out. We are currently doing with 20 fuses up, full buffs, 3 frenzy charges with convergence. I don't have anything else up on the tree right now. You guys can kind of screw around with that if you want or whatever. But I'm just going base frenzy charges and convergence. We are currently sitting at just shy of 38 million DPS per ignite with 20 stages of an explosive arrow. So very, very powerful right now. Very good clear speed. 2 mods you do not want to run. Player's life cannot regen mana, life, energy shield, etc. That's very annoying unless you can run it if you're running an enduring mana flask, but I am not, so I choose to cast spam over that. And the next biggest one you want to avoid at all costs is enemies cannot be inflicted by ailment percent chances. If you hit a 90% ailment immunity roll or chance for immunity, you are going to be doing a 20-minute map trying to get something killed. So try and avoid those 2 mods. Next, let's jump on into the skills. This is what you guys are here for, and this video is already going quite a long way, so I hope you guys are finding this very knowledgeable and enjoyable, and I hope you guys actually like the work I put into doing this. So, Explosive Arrow, level 21 base. I bought a 2120. I would highly suggest you buy a 2120 the second you hit 72. Very big damage bonus just for that one level. Otherwise, you can perfectly get away with a 2020. 21, I paid 4 chaos for this base. So, they are very cheap. Elemental damage with attacks is currently 2020. You want to do... You are going to be running burning damage initially. I have an awakened burning damage level 5. It costs a couple exalts, but it is definitely good for endgame. It gives you +1 to fire support gems, etc., and more burning damage. You can get away with a normal burning damage. You do not need an awakened burning damage. You want Ballista Totems 2020. This helps you a ton. 20% quality gives you 20% more totem placement speed. Alright, moving on. You want Deadly Ailments. You can go 2123 if you seriously wanted to. 2020 is fine. Depends on how much money you want to spend. I mean, this build can go up a little bit more. I mean, you go 21, 23. You're only going to be seeing... What is that? 17. I mean, pretty much not much more of a bump. So, I mean, it is what it is. And then Ignite Prolift. This can be substituted for Elemental Prolift initially. The only difference between Ignite is support skills deal increased fire damage, and you deal more damage with the Ignites. Elemental Prolift is just literally, it just spreads your debuffs and it gives you a chance to freeze, shock, and ignite initially. But the second you get, I want to make sure I pronounce Shaper of Flame, your ignites are automatically going to go up. So it's up to you. I definitely get Ignite Prolift because this does have a bigger radius for spreading your burning ignites. Next, this is going to be in a 6-link or a 4-link. You want to put this either in a bow with +1 socketed to gems, +2 socketed to bows. Increased physical damage does not really matter. You want an attack speed, you want an accuracy, and then I gain extra fire damage as extra chaos. This is not the ideal bow, but it will work. So it's up to you. I ran this explosive arrow setup for the longest time in a tabula. So if you get a cheap 6-link, you can literally easily run this combo in any generic 6-link. So up to you. Boot, you can put this in any section of your gear. It does not matter. You want Frenzy, Life Tap, Calling Strike, and faster attacks. Life Tap just basically makes it so your Frenzy costs life instead of mana, and it gets you a and support basically 19% more damage when you have Life Tap, and then I don't really know if that really affects anything, but it is what it is. I just do it because it saves me mana because this build does have mana issues. So, um, your defensive measures. This is huge, 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 huge. Molten Shell level 19. Do not level it past 19. You're going to get increased duration 2020. This really does help you. Cast when damage taken, level 17. Leave it at 17. It will trigger both Molten Shell and Steel Skin perfectly without needing to take more damage. You would only need to take 26, 21 damage versus if you go up another level, now you got to take 28. So definitely keep it at the lower level and it will trigger both these, which is good. And Steel Skin, I put this in as an extra defensive measure. It really does save you. 70% of damage from hits is taken before buff, life, or energy shield. Buff can take almost 2,000 damage. Buff grants immunity to bleeding. This has saved my life quite a few times when it procs Molten Shield and this. Very good debuffer. Extra damage buffer, you're going to use Arcanist Brand, Combustion, and Flame Surge in a 3-link. Very good meta. I have a Veil Clarity level 7. This is mandatory once you start mapping and getting into spamming your totems. The Veil Clarity, which basically makes it so none of your abilities cost mana for X amount of seconds, helps you a ton. Get it. And you will be proccing this as your Veil skill non-stop. And the very last thing is going to be a Curse on Hit Flammability Ring. But here is where things get a little spicy now. This is our aura setup. I put this in my body armor, my chest, which is currently a spell suppression, dexterity, life evasion, and max life. Crappy regen though. This is getting replaced soon too. So same stats almost, but we're going to be modifying the overall stats. I have a flame dash in here. You can put your flame dash in your helmet if so wanted. You will have an extra socket if whatever your remaining socket is, you can put flame dash in there if you wanted to. I use that as a mobility skill, but getting back into the auras, you're going to be running Determination, Grace, Precision, and Defiance banner. Determination for armor, Grace for evasion, Precision for crit chance, and accuracy rating. The crit chance just helps you to proc Elemental Overlord more, so that's good to have. And the Defiance banner is a defensive measure. I do not proc my Defiance banner, I just hold it non-stop. So, and then I'm running a level 3 Enlightenment. This I found to be mandatory to running all this to give you a little extra mana. I believe I'm currently sitting on 222 on reserve mana, so 222 on reserve mana with an Enlightenment. If we turn off the Enlightenment, it will still work, but you will be down to 160 mana. I like the little extra mana just to give you a little bit of an edge. So Enlighten, and this is going to be a level 420. You can go up to a level 4 if you really wanted to. It will bump you up to 253 and give you a little more mana regen a second or whatever. But, I mean, it is what it is. Well, not regen per second, but it will allow you to bump your Veil Clarity up a little bit more too if you really wanted to. You can probably bump this up to... Interesting. Yeah, I'll keep it at level 7 just for the hell of it. Even with a 4-4 Enlightenment is going to be a couple exalts. So, up to you if you guys want to do it. But otherwise, that's pretty much the setup. The gear is pretty straightforward. We kind of went over that at the beginning. I mean, we got fire damage over time multipliers on the quiver, crit chance on the bow, penetration on the gloves, etc. I mean, this will all be in the path to building. So I hope you guys found this very interesting. I know it hit 30-minute mark, but we will jump into the map showcase next, We will kill a couple of bosses just to show you how it works, and then we will wrap things up. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and stick around for the showcase. Alright, welcome to the boss killing showcase of this explosive arrow build that you guys just sat 30 minutes listening to. I am not a bosser, so forgive me. I may die a couple of times, but I have done these before, so I do know what I'm doing, but I am not a boss killer, so we are not running Atlas buffs for shrines, just so you know. But I am going to use Domination for 3 additional shrines. We are going to be doing a cemetery map. We are going to do Baron of Verdetti's, and then I'll showcase you real fast on Hydra. So let's get this on the road. This is probably going to be about 15-minute showcase for the build. So hopefully we can shoot through these real fast and see what we get. Oh yeah, by the way, this does have Beyond up, so it kind of gives you an idea what it can do in Beyond too. But for the most part, I literally just want to grab the shrines and get to the boss. If you do spec in the shrines and you use like a gall, this build is insanely OP. Alright, we got... As you can see, it melts Bane pretty fast, which I love for farming cemeteries. And it melts her pretty fast. As you can see, it does need more life. I am working on that, so I think the end goal for the life with my current setup is going to be maybe just shy of 5,000. Especially if I can get the ES as life roll on a chest. You should have a decent effective hit point pool. I know the shrine's south, but the boss is north, I believe. Alright, there's the defensive shrine. I've never been a fan of the museum map either. Oh, sorry, I have to do essences. That's just money. Alright, here we go. Like, even with a handful of totems down, you still melt bosses. Now this guy, I hate this guy. This guy hits like a truck. Just get your ignites off on him and boom, down he goes. Alright, and last but not least, we will showcase Hydra. Oh, perfect. Shrines are right here. Brutality, perfect. And as you can see, we have decent modifiers on this map too. Oh yeah, this is big money right here, sorry. I gotta do this. Perfect defensive shrine for Hydra. Alright, this guy's a little bit of a pain in the butt. I haven't done this fight many times. Alright, there's shock off on him. Like I said, I haven't done Hydra much, so... Oh, we got a Cortex map. Cool. That's cool. Alright, that is basically the build showcase for this explosive elemental arrow. And I really hope you guys found this interesting. And I hope... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? And I thank you for watching this. And more build guys will be coming in the near future. Take care. Good luck. Good hunting. Happy Exalts.